right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Steve Dalton. He's the CEO of Revolve Renewable Power Corp. And Steve, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you, Steve. Appreciate you taking the time to have us here.
Yeah, and also joining us is their president, Omar Bjorkaz. And Omar, great to see you as well.
Great to see you again, Steve.
Yeah, so super exciting news out from the company. You basically have released your financials and more importantly, a corporate update that really talks about some shifts that have happened within the company. And when I say shifts, Steve, maybe I'll start with you just to talk about that shift from really being a project developer into someone who is now an independent power producer.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Steve, this has kind of been a story that's been unfolding for us over the last 6 months, really, since we completed the RTO. I mean, we set out, I think, back at the start of the summer in terms of an acquisition that we had been working on and acquiring some operational assets from Centrica. We managed to complete that acquisition just there at the back end of August, and that's really set us on the path to become, I guess, a mid-size IPP where we're generating electricity from contracts with industrial customers down in Mexico. This quarter is kind of the first time we've reported that. It's only a small amount of revenue initially, but we only closed the acquisition at the end of August. So we're looking forward to that really building over the next couple of quarters as we start to report further revenue and cash flow from that portfolio. But yeah, no, it's exciting times. As I said, like that transition is now kind of underway with that acquisition. We also announced another battery storage project there in September, which will add to that revenue and kind of cash flow story as we move towards next year. So yeah, no, exciting times over the last couple of months for the company.
And Steve, that's what people have really been looking at the company for, is when you were going to get into revenue, especially recurring revenue, and obviously you're starting to show a little bit of that now and more to come.
Yeah, and I think you said an important word there. I think it's the recurring revenue, which I think is kind of let's say a big issue for investors. I mean, obviously as a private company pre-RTO, we managed to deliver almost $17 million. So revenue necessarily isn't a new thing for us. We've delivered it previously, but I think with this slight shift, what it does do is we can kind of look out now 8 years and kind of forecast based on the current portfolio that we have, that we're going to be kind of every quarter generating kind of electricity cash flow from these contracts that we have. And like I said, as we add further projects to that particular division, the distributed generation division, you're going to hopefully start to see that revenue line, recurring revenue line, creep up as we start to deliver these projects.
Omar, you and I have talked in the past about the projects that you have in the United States and also in Mexico, and just how important those are to the company. Maybe you can talk a bit about some of the work that's gone on in the last few months, so specifically on getting those projects ready to start construction and things like that.
Yes, well, I think that this is very important for all our shareholders just to have this update and what we have been already announcing during the last weeks and months. And this is exactly according to what we have planned as our business strategy. So on our two business units, that's our utility scale projects portfolio, that's the 3.6 gigawatts. Across 12 wind, solar, and battery storage projects in the US and Mexico. And on our second business unit, that is our distributed generation projects portfolio, around 10 megawatts of operating and under construction assets. That's rooftop solar and CHP projects. Likewise, now our project development pipeline stands over 60 megawatts. So we have doing, as Steve was mentioning, we have done a lot of progress and milestones that we have completed during the last 8 months that make us give progress on our projects, basically everything related with the land agreements that we have to secure the land that it is necessary for our projects. We have done also studies and applications for the interconnection process that has to be completed before it is ready to build. And also we have done a couple of surveys around environmental studies that has been required by all the authorities that we have to complete, and we will be completing the next studies during the next year. And so far it has been concrete and specific things that we have just we can just complete and say that it is what we require for the next stages that we will be doing during the next year.
Yeah. Omar, can you talk a bit about Mexico specifically? I know in the news release, you talked about a shift that the Mexican government has made about renewable energy and how important it is. And I feel that Mexico is probably a pretty significant market for Revolve Renewable Power.
Absolutely. And this is something important. We have all the world is just looking on what all the countries are going to commit for the next year and the next years, and specifically during the COP27. Well, Mexico just made a good announcement as part of this COP27. So proceeding with what has been already the Mexican commitments, Mexico has pledged to reach 40 gigawatts of deployed wind and solar generation capacity by 2030. Which means that the strategy of reducing its greenhouse gas emissions by 35% in order to meet what we will need to complete for by 2030. So that means that by the next 8 years, we will have 1.25 gigawatts per year, to be done on renewable, and Revolve a successful track record in that sense, in Mexico. We want to move our pipeline, so we can make progress on our projects. It's around 1.6 gigawatts. So we anticipate more clarity from the government on private sector involvement in delivering this ambitious target by the 2030.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve, wrapping up here, just for investors, what sort of catalyst can they expect from the company over the next year? What should they be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've laid it out pretty well in our investor presentation, which is on our website, Steve. But I think you'll see, I guess, a lot of activity across both sides of the business, and we've kind of given investors some sense of that over the last couple of months. Where, like Omar said earlier, like we're gonna be continuing to kind of hit those key milestones, hopefully across the 12 utility scale projects. That's going to generate hopefully on the news flow and updates for our shareholders. On the DG side, I mean, if you look at the kind of track record over the last couple of months, we obviously closed the Centrica acquisition, and off the back of that, we're able to generate what was originally around a 40 megawatt kind of pipeline. We've now grown that to 60 megawatts. We've obviously signed our first project there in September. That's due to come online the end of January, kind of stroke February. And our expectation is that we'll continue to successfully convert some of that pipeline into further projects on the DG side. And then, like I said, to start the discussion, as the quarters go by, you'll start to see our revenue line slowly increasing as we're kind of bringing these projects on, and in terms of cash flow as well. So I think overall, looking forward from a company perspective, extremely positive, extremely excited about what we've got ahead of us. I think from an industry perspective, a lot going on as well, and a lot of kind of positive tailwinds behind us that's helping the business. So yeah, overall, really looking forward to the next 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the wind power, lots of tailwinds, which is important. Omar, gentlemen, thank you so much. Great to see you both. And I know you've put in a lot of work over the last little while and more to come. So appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. That is Steve Dalton, the CEO, and Omar Bjork as the president, Revolve Renewable Power Corp.